I wanted to test my minimal API endpoints, but I came across a problem. How do I do it? I want to unit test these minimal API endpoints. The issue though that I've got is that they're all lambda expressions within the app.map methods. Therefore, in their current state, I'm not able to unit test them. That means we have to stop using lambda expressions and move the root handlers to their own separate methods. Before we have a look at moving the root handlers to their own methods, it's recommended that we move the endpoints out of Program.cs into their own method. So we're going to do that. We'll move it out of Program.cs. We've created this static class called toDoEndpoints. Within it, we've got a method of mapToDoGroup. It's passing in an instance of the web application. It's static. We're going to copy that in. We need to fix some of the formatting there because it's gone a little bit wrong. There we go, that looks a lot better. And then back in Program.cs, we just call mapToDoGroup. And now in Program.cs, it will now call this method. Just a reminder that when you subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified for any future .NET videos that I release. We can now move the root handlers to their own methods. So we'll do it when we're getting the record. So we'll take that out of there. We've already set up a static method for this. It's passing in the same parameters and returning the same result. We'll paste that in there. We'll do the same for the other ones as well. So we're creating an item. We will move that into here. Do the same with updating a record. And finally, we'll move the delete record code. Now we need to get the root handler to call those methods. So we can remove the curly braces from there. We called it get. We pass in the ID and the to-do service. Do the same for when we create an item. We called it create. Pass in the create item and the to-do service parameters. Same with updating. So we pass in the necessary parameters once again. And then finally with the delete. So now each of these root handlers are calling their own static methods. When you download the code example for this tutorial, you'll be able to unit test those minimal API endpoint handlers. Go to roundthecode.com/examples to do that. We can now unit test our endpoint handlers. We need to create a new xUnit test project, so we right click on the solution in Visual Studio, we go to add a new project. I'm going to use xUnit because it's the one I know the most. We'll give it a name, we'll call it roundthecode.minimal-api.unit-tests. We can keep the framework at .NET 9. A couple of things we need to do before writing our unit tests. In the xUnit test project, we need to add a dependency to the web API. So we go to add, and how do we do it? Project reference, that's the one. And we select roundthecode.minimal-api. We also need to add a NuGet package. So we go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Manage Packages for Solution. We need to do a search for mock. We're going to be mocking the services that are used in the endpoint handlers. We need to add mock to the unit test project, and we can install it. First, we're going to test this get method. So what this will do is it will call the get method in the to-do service. If it's null, it will return a not found. Otherwise, it will return an OK with the item. So we'll test it if the record doesn't exist. So in order to do that, we just call the toDoEndpoints.get. We pass in an ID of 1, and we get the instance of the to-do service.object. So this is something we've mocked for all our unit tests. We've mocked the iToDo service, and we've stored a read-only reference up here so we can use it within our unit tests. Now, because we haven't set up anything from the get method, it will automatically return null. So we assume that it's going to return this not found response. So we'll call assert is type. We expect it to be not found and it be from the act.result. We now want to test the OK response. So we'll create a new to-do item. So this is the response that we're going to expect from it. So the ID can be 1 and the text is, this is text. So the to-do item has an ID and some text. Now we can call the to-do service mock and we can do a setup. So we say that when we call the to-do service get method and we pass in an ID of 1, we're going to return this response. So we set up the to-do service with the get method of the parameter of 1. and it will return the to-do item. We then call the same act, but this time we expect it to return an OK response. So it'd be an OK to do item response. Then what we can also do is we can get the result from act.result and bind it to an OK to do item DTO. And then we can make sure that our to do item up here is the same as the result.value. Running those unit tests show that they've both passed. When you download the code example for this tutorial, you'll be able to unit test those minimal API endpoint handlers. Go to roundthecode.com/examples to do that. We're now going to unit test the create, update and delete. They're doing very similar things, so they're calling a method in the to-do service and then returning a no content response. So we'll start off with the create method. We'll create a new to-do item. We can just say this is text. Then we'll call our method. We'll pass in the create to-do item and also the instance of the to-do service. Now we expect the response to be of a no content response. And we can also make sure that the to-do service is called, so we can ensure that the create method is called as part of the to-do service. It passes in the create to-do item as the parameter, and we expect that to happen once. We'll set up similar things for the update and delete. So we'll start with the update. We're going to specify that the ID is 1. We're going to create a new instance of the update to do item DTO. We're going to update the text for it. And then we're going to test the update method. We'll pass in the necessary parameters for it. So the ID and the update to do. And then once again, we expect a 204 no content response. This time we'll verify that the to-do service calls the update method with the ID and the instance of the update to do. And we expect it to call it once. With the delete, it's pretty simple. We just pass in the ID. And we update and verify that it calls the delete method in the to-do service. And now we can run those tests. And all those unit tests are passing. So we successfully unit tested our minimal API endpoints. So that's how you unit test minimal API endpoint handlers. And if you want to find out more about minimal APIs, watch this video next. To download the code example for this tutorial, go to roundthecode.com/examples. There's also a link for it in the YouTube video description. Leave any comments that you have about unit testing with minimal APIs, and I'll see you on the next video.